that is, yeah. That is, I think it's profound, and I also think it's incredibly insightful about Snowden's motivations in a way that's not easy to apprehend. And I mean, that is a fascinating topic to me, and I'll just, for the moment, say that I gave a TED Talk, I think a month ago in Brazil, which you can find online really easily, where I talked about this idea that if you're not one of the bad people, the people plotting terrorist attacks or engaging in violent crimes, if you're instead a good person, like a person who goes to work and comes home and raises your kids and watches TV, that you're not doing bad things, and therefore you don't have anything to hide, and therefore don't really care if the government is invading your privacy because you don't actually think they're really interested in what it is that you're doing. And I talk about the critical central role that privacy plays in the lives of all of us, and not just people who are doing bad things like committing terrorism and the like. And when I was in Hong Kong, as I said earlier, it was critical for me to understand the motive that led Snowden to do what he did, because I wanted to make certain that I wasn't participating in unraveling somebody's life who hadn't given extremely careful and deep thought to why this was worth doing. And I asked him many, many times over the course of hours and then days for this explanation. Why was this worth it to him? I mean, he had a very stable life. He had a girlfriend who loved him. He had a lucrative career. He had a family that was supportive, a great life in Hawaii. Why was he willing to throw this all away in pursuit of this abstract political ideal? And he gave me a lot of answers that weren't quite persuasive to me until he talked about what you just raised, which is he said that growing up the way he grew up, which was pretty poor, he didn't even finish high school. He grew up in this very cloistered suburb in Northern Virginia near the kind of military-industrial complex, that he had a very kind of narrow world. And the internet is what let him explore not only the world, but other people and ultimately himself. He could speak to people around the world with whom he would never otherwise communicate. He could experiment with ideas that he would never be willing to express if it were attached to his name. He would try out different personalities and identities, all of which was possible exclusively because he was able to do it in a realm of privacy. And he said he didn't want to live in a world where that was lost. He wasn't willing to live in that world. And the reason that was so important to him, and it's something that I've given so much thought about over the last year and a half, is because as human beings, and there's all kinds of scientific studies that demonstrate this to be true, but I think our own human experience proves it even more. When we think that we're being watched, our behavior changes radically. We become much more conformist, we become much more compliant, we make choices that are the byproduct not of our own agency, but of the expectations and mandates of social orthodoxy and convention. And it's really only in this private realm where we can explore intimacy and, as you say, love and friendship and different ways of thinking and being and creativity and dissent. It all exclusively resides in this realm of privacy where we can act without other eyes being cast upon us and making judgments. And that is something that was crucial to Snowden's evolution as a person. The ability to have this private realm online where so many people, especially younger ones, don't just buy books and make travel reservations, but develop who they are as people and make human connections. All of that is severely crippled, if not completely destroyed, when we live in a world of mass surveillance, where the internet is converted into a place where we can always be watched and monitored. And that's what makes what you said so insightful is, yeah, he talks about encryption, he talks about surveillance technologies, but ultimately it was a deeply human perspective that drove him to do what he did, deeply noble and selfless, because he wanted these connections that can be made exclusively in a world where there's privacy to continue to flourish, and he knew that's what was being destroyed. And that, more than anything, I think is what drove him to do what he did. So excellent observations. Thank you.